Hey everyone, and welcome to the 66th episode of We're All in the Same Boat. I'm your host, Luke Roxwold, and today I am here with Rich Musick.
Hello, how's it going?
And as always, you can check us out on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. I guess I probably should have this down before I start doing the intro.
Google Play, right on.
Stitcher, that's right, Stitcher.
SoundCloud.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to find it on Google Play when I first put it on there, but I think...
You gotta get on YouTube, man.
Yeah, I uploaded a couple of the episodes to YouTube, but it's such a pain that I stopped. I got kind of out of it. But listeners, as always, you can leave us a review. Check out our Instagram, which is WAITSB podcast. So Rich and I met a long time ago, like maybe one time. I was trying to remember.
Yeah, right. I think it was it Westminster Church?
Yeah.
Is that where?
Yep.
I think
it was.
It was like I don't even know if we had like the same friend circle. I don't even.
I know this is. It's totally a interesting setup here. Let me let the audience kind of know what's going on. So we were in the same church, and I don't even know if we ever even had a conversation. I just knew you existed. Maybe we saw each other. We went to a couple like Super Bowl parties or something like that.
Yeah, there we go. Play some Halo or something like that.
Yep, yeah. So that's kind of that's how, like literally all I knew. I knew like some of the other people on some of the other systems playing with like in a big LAN party, which, you know, rest in peace. Nobody does that anymore, unfortunately. But
those were good days, man.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to someone about that, how back in the day, it'd be like you got the two Xboxes, you've got people in like in one room.
Yeah.
No one does it anymore.
What video game genre can you still like split screen? Like fighting games only, maybe, you know? Like that sort of experience of like being on the couch, like being with a group of friends or something, because everything else that comes out now, it's everybody's individual.
I know. And like,
everyone's playing from their own house.
Yeah, and I remember back in high school that was our big thing, was to hook up the Xboxes with the LAN cable.
Oh man.
Have some people in one room, and you know, you had people yelling at each other, and you know, like you know, we turned the sound up really loud. It was really good. Like that was good times. And nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, oh, Johnny, you just got no scoped.
That's it.
You know,
exactly. Bring back all the online talk.
I know, right? Oh man, I'm telling you, my best weekends, I like the most fun I had was getting together with my friends, and we'd just like LAN Halo. We'd play like poker. We ordered some pizza. You know, it was just those are the best memories, man.
Yeah, and the poker too. I love that too. Throwing that in there as an extra thing. So, just for the audience to know, Rich, I guess, saw a Facebook post that I posted, obviously, and it was asking people, interesting people, to talk to me about being a guest on the podcast. And so Rich sent me a message and said, hey, I used to be a professional gamer, and I have some things to say. And so I was like, that's awesome. That'd be really cool to talk about, especially considering how giant video games are in general. And I feel like nobody even knows anything about professional gaming. I know people know it exists, but you're the first person I've ever talked to that I know did it professionally.
Well, it was all underground. Like in my background, you know, it was just kind of, you didn't really talk about it. You know, you had a few of your closest friends who knew kind of like that's what you did. Like you went to these events and you competed. I think like I remember there was like this one time my mom and I were at like the supermarket, and we're just walking along in the supermarket, and I've got one of my jerseys on. Mm-hmm. And someone like this younger kid, you know, this younger kid comes up to me. He worked at like the food line or whatever, and he was like, "Hey man, whoa, like nice MLG shirt. Like do you play like Call of Duty or something?" And I was like, "Oh, actually, I compete. I play Gears of War." He's like, "Oh man, I love Gears of War." he's like, "How long you been playing?" You know, so I ended up having like this little conversation with this guy, and he was like, you know, to him this was so cool because he's like this 14, 15-year-old kid, and here I am like somebody that, you know, he obviously wanted, probably, I think his intention was he wants to become a pro gamer sometime, right? And then by the end of the conversation, my mom was like, I didn't even know you do that. So like, I guess like, your family knows that like you play, gosh, he's like always he's in his room a lot. He plays a lot of games. He plays, always playing his Xbox stuff. But it was kind of a little bit of a secret, traveling to Pennsylvania, traveling to DC, going to these events, competing.
That must have been a kind of eye-opening moment to have somebody recognize that you did that, because it's not like football, where if someone sees someone wearing a football jersey or something, everyone knows what a football jersey is. But most people would have just been like, oh, this guy's just wearing a shirt with the name on it, with the kind of like cool design.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a really humbling experience. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And that was that only happened one other time, is that someone recognized like what like an MLG like jersey was,
Yeah, because I was going to say
outside of a convention or something like that, like just in the general, like just walking around. And not that I wear like my jerseys all that often. I think I probably wore it because I didn't have anything else that was like clean.
Right.
But
I was going to ask you like how often you still wear it.
Not at all, man. At all. I don't think they even fit me anymore. But I still have them, of course.
Yeah, that's something I need to ask you.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you. I'm trying to think of a way to kind of keep this organized. And I was trying to think through it step by step, because I knew you back in high school, and so that was like the Halo 2 Xbox LAN party section of things happening. And then I remember Gears of War came out after a little while, and then Call of Duty came out, and I think it was like in 2012 that Call of Duty really started to take off, and people were watching it on YouTube, and it was just becoming this massive thing. And I think that's when I started noticing that games were almost becoming a sport in a way. And so if we start back where you were in high school, I know you said you're from Virginia Beach originally. You spent some time in Suffolk, which is around the time that I probably met you. And then how did you start from there?
Sure.
What happened next? Like, what's the story? What did you have any games that you used to play when you were younger that kind of inspired you?
It was always Halo at first. Halo was like the thing, and I think that like there are other people out there that can agree with this. Like Halo is like you wanted to be the best kid in the neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. And you hear about this with like the fighting game community too. You guys ever heard of this guy? This guy Jason, he lives around here. Or he goes to
it's
school.
Always a screen name too.
Yeah, it's like I remember it'd be like this guy Magman, right? And like who is Magman? Like he's just like this really good player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was Halo, and I went to this camp in the summers. It was like a sports camp, and one summer the guy like ended up having an Xbox there, and he got a little LAN thing together going, and a bunch of kids from the camp played, and it was Halo, and I trashed them all, right? And it was like they were like, "Wow, this guy's like so good. What's going on?" And then the guy whose Xbox it was said he knew of a guy, and he knew of this other guy that went to his high school, and it was like the best Halo player he'd ever seen. So he was like, "I got to make this happen. This guy's gonna come out to this camp one night.
A tournament. Okay.
Yeah, this guy's gonna come out to the camp one night, and the best from our camp, you're gonna play him. He's the best player from our high school." Oh man. Yeah, and I was like, "Cool, whatever, let's do it." And so this guy rolls out. This guy ends up being later on in life one of my best friends ever, right? I'm the best man at his wedding. He and I are. He's probably like my closest friend through everything, right? And he rolls out to the camp. He's driving this Mustang, rolls up, revs the engine really loud, gets out. It's swag. He's got the swagger, yeah.
Building the hype before you guys
already
go to war.
Head. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like. A little $20 money match or something like that, which was, it's not a big deal. But when you're 16 or so, $20 might be all you've got at camp. So
yeah.
And he runs the engine on his Mustang, gets out. It's got some swagger. Comes up. Says what's. He's a nice guy though. He's not like getting in my face or anything. But
he pulls up in his car and he struts out, and then he's like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah. So I found out later that he got. This sort of a swag that he had was because he was like a state champion wrestler. So he was also an athlete for his school.
Oh man, so he's like I can fight you in Halo and fight you in real life.
Right, he could definitely take me to the ground in real life, that's for sure. Like he was a big guy, and then he was ruthless. But I mean, that's kind of like what those guys. He was from Roanoke, Virginia, and that's what they did. You know, they did a sport, they did school, and then they played video games. Man, there's not a whole lot to do out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the mountains, you know, I think you guys get together and they go hunting, and you know they play a lot of video games, and that's kind of some appeal out there. But
so he's had like the practice. You know, it's like this is what they do.
Yeah. So he was like, he brought this friend with him named Ian, and he wanted me to play Ian first so he could kind of gauge my level, right? And I remember I put the hurt on that guy real good, like beat him like 15-2 or something. And I remember the guy Scotty was watching me the whole time. And like, if there are any listeners out there, some OG Halo 2 players, back in the day there were these exploits that had been learned in the game by the competitive community they became like extremely like important, like big parts of gameplay. One of them was like there was these combinations you would press on the controller, and one of them would like reload the gun without the reload animation. And so that was like a quick weapon switch reload, and that was like really important because, you know, if you think about like the time that it takes to reload a weapon, you can get killed.
Right.
And another one was it was called a double shot, and that would be like, if you were using the battle rifle, it's like a 3-round burst, and then it's like a pause and like another 3-round burst. Well, you could actually glitch the game and get it to do a double 3-round burst back to back, so you'd shoot 6 shots. And like, these are like, you know, if you learn these advantages, these are like actually end up being like big things.
So this is like I'm trying to picture it like you're pushing certain buttons in a certain combination that glitches the game.
It was like, you know, if like X is reload and Y is switch weapons, it's like YYX or something. You make the game try and like think you're switching a weapon, and then like you pull the trigger too. And it's like a very strict timing, and then the game, like instead of cutting to the reload animation, it just goes right into the next burst of the bullets. And it's just been so long. I should be able to answer this, but I don't remember the combination for double shot.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Like I remember seeing people in Halo 2 reloading their weapon where they'd push the reload, and as soon as the clip was in the gun, there would be like some sort of cocking of the weapon or something. But if you meleeed or something like that,
the big one that became known, because that one was a lot easier, was the BXR, which is the B button, the X button, and the trigger, and that would cancel your melee animation. So you would get the full damage from the melee, which I think right around that time was when MLG was huge. You know, the Ogres, Ogre 1, Ogre 2, like Instinct, Walshy, all those guys were like the big names. And during that patch period, melee, I think, nearly just depleted your entire shield. So if you got the melee off, they were shieldless, and then if you got the shot off in the head, they would die.
Okay.
You do a quick BXR, melee, remove their shield, cancel it with the X button, and then pull the trigger. And it was like a really quick way to like instantly dispatch somebody, because otherwise like it would take like 2 melees or maybe more than that.
Well, and the other thing about it, or at least it sounds like, is these things aren't exactly easy to pull off, but if you can pull them off well, like if you're really good, then it's really going to really going to be an advantage.
Huge
kind of
advantage,
like
absolutely.
Mario, was it Mario Kart? Yeah, Mario Kart, if you push A at the right time before the light goes off, you'll get a boost.
Yeah.
And so if you're really good and you can time it just right, you can get that boost at the beginning. But if you mess it up, you spin out or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either risk it and possibly do better. So, okay, so you're getting really good at those sorts of things, and then you were saying that you're playing against your friends, which, by the way, I actually know, like, you might, this is going to feed your ego a little bit. I remember playing Halo 2 in the building and like during the Super Bowl party, and I remember the username Rich being the guy killing everyone. And I have friends that I know. Here's the thing. That's why when you said you were a pro gamer, I was like, all right, that kind of checks out, because I know there's friends that I could probably text now and be like, hey, do you remember when we used to have those church Super Bowl Halo 2 parties or whatever? And then said, do you remember Rich being the guy killing us all the time? And they would say yes. So the legacy does spread out beyond this whole pro gaming thing, because I remember it. So,
you got to be the best one in the neighborhood, man.
That's right, man. It's the competition. You know, you got to be the first place. So, okay. So you were getting ready to go against this other master player.
So Scotty was watching me, and he was watching me quiet, like silently.
Scotty's your friend? Or
he became my friend. This was the guy that pulled up in the Mustang, right? The guy that they had said that, oh, I know of this guy. He's
other
so good at
champion,
Halo, right? Yeah. And you know, I had a couple guys from camp rooting for me, and you know, he's watching me, and I beat his friend Ian. And I remember for like one of the kills, I pulled off a real smooth like double shot, right? And like when I did that, because I didn't know anybody else, no one at camp knew how to do that. Like when I did that, Scotty kind of lost. He went crazy. It was like, you know, oh my fucking god, Ian, you just got bodied. He just fucking double shotted you, like you know, it was crazy. Yeah, it was one of those crazy moments. So then like that hyped him up because he was like he couldn't wait to play me at that point,
right?
Because like that's like, you know, that's like a sign of like, okay, this guy's like this guy plays like MLG, like this guy like is serious. But so yeah, I played him, and it was a close game, but it was, you know, he beat me. It was solid. You know, he beat me pretty good, and after that he said, you know, add me on Xbox when you get back home from summer camp. Let's play. And I think, you know, I added him, and we've been friends. We've been close friends ever since, man. And
wow.
So that was the guy I found out. So he was like, I was like, you know, obviously you're really good. How'd you get so good? And he said, I went to this event. You know, I went to North Carolina. I went to Raleigh, whatever, MLG Raleigh. And I was like, well, you know, oh, okay, so you've actually been to one of the events. And he was like, yeah, we got to go. And that was pretty much, so it was like that. And then it was around the time that Halo 3 was out. And then like Halo 3 wasn't too much longer. Halo 3 was out, and then like pretty quickly after that, I think Halo Reach came out. So right around that time, I was playing a lot of Halo, and then, but also Gears of War was out somewhere around that time.
Yeah, let me look this up, because Halo 3. When did that
I want to say Gears of War was maybe like 2006 or 7.
Okay, so Halo 3 was 2007. And then
probably around the time of Gears of War 2.
Yep, because I remember. Here's what I remember. So Halo, just to reminisce a little bit, Halo blew my mind when it came out. Like it was so insane to me. I remember being a little kid and just being like, "This is." I remember like little things, like seeing the Warthog car thing and then the Ghost vehicle.
Oh yeah.
And I remember seeing them crash into each other, and then like all the physics were there, and just being like, what you can do, and then like the sticky grenades and all those things. I remember like just being like, if you picture, how old would I have been then? Doesn't matter. I was really young, but picture a little kid, like the way little kids are right now about Minecraft or
of course
Roblox or anything, and just imagine them going, what? Oh man, this is so cool. And that was me when Halo came out. So then I remember I went to the same sort of party thing where we had the LAN hookup, and people were bringing Gears of War. And I remember as a kid being like, what? No, I don't want to play Gears of War. I want to play Halo, because that's the game that I know. So I remember it being around the same time that Gears of War and Halo came out. So you said Reach came out, and then Halo and Gears of War had come out a little before that.
It was like Gears of War and Halo 3, I think, were kind of around the same time period. And then Reach was later. And I remember because I always liked Gears of War, but I didn't play it as much because I was still playing a lot of Halo. Mm-hmm. And
well, that was your game. Like that's the one you were slamming, yeah.
Yeah. And then something just, I don't remember I actually do not remember why, but something just kept drawing me to Gears of War, and I kept getting into it. And there was a guy at my school. His name was Baxter, and he was like, oh, he knew another friend of mine named Kyle, because I knew Kyle's older brother. And so Baxter and Kyle were like a year below me, or a year or two below me. And they were like, and Kyle was like, I know this guy that plays Halo, he's really good. Baxter's like, that's cool, but does he play Gears of War? And I think like Baxter and I became, we just became friends at school. And then he brought me in, that's where it happened. He brought me more into Gears of War.
Okay.
And he was like, yo, it's just competitive like Halo. They've got like game battles, they've got MLG, like they have tournaments and stuff. And I'm trying to, I want to build a team. I want to go to one of these tournaments. And I'd like you to be my teammate because I know that you have experience like playing Halo at a pretty competitive level. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So it was Baxter and I, we started our little, started making a name for ourselves a little bit on Gears of War as like a little 2-person team, right? Mm-hmm. And we had to find 2 more because you always have to, the events are 4v4.
Right.
And you have to get a full team. And we found this guy from Nebraska and we found this other guy near me from Newport News.
That's crazy that there's like this word on the street of like, dude, this guy's really good at
That's
video
all.
games.
That's everything. That your reputation and your word on the street is like everything. You know.
That's insane. It's like a what is it like? It's almost like the mafia or something. It's like, oh man, word on the streets. There's a new guy who you know you got to watch out for him.
Oh, exactly.
Well, we got to get him on our side. You know.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's move this along a little bit. So like you're starting to formulate a team. You know,
Yeah,
you're
so
finding other people that are good at this Gears game.
That's the thing about that is, it's always good to go with people you're comfortable with playing with. You know, people's personalities that you get along with, because, you know, these guys, I'm still friends with all these guys. You know, we're still close because it is truly like a team thing. You know, it's not.
Yeah, you're going to war together. You know?
Yeah, you know, it's really you guys do go through a lot. You go through a lot of like. And you go through it during a time of like adolescence and like growing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You go through like.
That's true.
You know,
Actually, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I was the best man at one of the guys' weddings. You know, like we've been through. I've seen two of them get married. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
You really do develop like a brotherhood.
I was gonna say though that you were meeting these people like high school time, and that's a time when everything's going nuts. You know, you're growing up and everything's changing. But in the midst of all the chaos of like hormones and becoming an adult, you've got your team of like, well, we're all going to play these games together. It's like a sport team in a way.
Yeah, it is like a. I think of it when I try and tell like friends or family about it. You know, I think of it as like, you know, those bowling clubs that like actually like pretty. They're like more serious than you realize they would be. You know, like these guys go to. They go to these bowling tournaments, you know, they practice all the time. They've got their little circle, and like to them it's really serious, and like it's a small little community, and like they care about it a lot. And that's kind of what I sort of see of what my experience was before, because now things have gotten a lot bigger. Like now you could say that it's almost like esports is like mainstream, right?
Yeah.
You hear
really
that like,
is.
oh, just as many people watch Twitch as they do watch like network cable or whatever, like crazy numbers and stuff.
I said this a couple years ago that it was going to get huge. You know, like when Twitch was first starting, you know, I remember being like, this is going to be like football. Like it's going to get that big. Okay, but so you got this team. Oh, sorry, what were you about to say?
No, I was just going to say, like, one of my friends put it pretty perfectly. He was like, you know, when I grow up and like I have children, like I've never watched football in my life, and my kids are probably not going to watch football, but like they'll probably be watching Twitch.
Yeah,
you know,
I think so. You know,
they'll probably be watching Call of Duty or Overwatch, whatever.
Yeah, or whatever the new game is. You know, so I want to try and push us into the professional gaming part of this. I still want to hear the backstory, but I do know that that's the part a lot of people are going to want to listen to. And so you've got this team started, a bunch of kids playing together, maybe I guess on Xbox Live or whatever, and. What happened after that? What progresses the story towards the professional gaming part?
Quick version.
You don't have to make it quick, but I do want us to move more that direction. So
sure. So you get a group of guys that you're comfortable with playing together, and then you guys go to local tournaments.
So you find out like word in mouth that there's a tournament somewhere.
Yeah, someone will know about something. Someone will say, some website will say it's like some circuit tournament, and you go, and it'll be like up in like Fredericksburg, Virginia, or something, right?
Okay. So it's an actual road trip too.
Yeah. So you guys will get in a car and you'll drive, 3-4 hours and get up there, and the moment where I realized like this could be something is like we got up there to this tournament in Fredericksburg and we just completely destroyed everybody. There's nobody, all the other guys that showed up were just.
Oh man, really? Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of an ego going on.
How old are you at this point?
Like I want to say I was 18.
Okay.
I think I was 18, and these guys were like 16, 17. These guys were in high school.
Okay.
And because and it was like my first year of college. I was like, yeah, there's one like up near me. You guys come up here. It'd be near my college. We can like stay at my dorm, and like that's how it worked out.
Okay.
And that was cool, and so, so we beat everybody this tournament. And then it's like, well, you hear that like that. After that, it's like, well, you're nothing unless you go to the MLG, like the national, like the big deal, you know.
Yeah.
And you place well. You guys are nothing unless you place well there. Like you can win like a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. You can win like, t-shirts and trips, expenses paid, and all this kind of stuff. But it's like you're nothing unless you place well at like the big the big thing. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, we'll go to MLG. And so that's up to like me. That's
I love
that's
it.
you're
It's
heading
like,
up
all
to.
right, fine, we'll go.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. So it's like then you gotta like convince like somebody's dad to like make the trip for you. And for us, it was Baxter's dad. He would go up there with us, and like he drove us up. We went up to you go to Secaucus, New Jersey, which is right on the line between New York and New Jersey. You go up there and it's like a 3-day event. It's like throughout the weekend.
Wait,
right?
so like, let's back up for a second. So you found out about this MLG event that's happening, and you said it was up in, where was it exactly?
I think it's Secaucus, New Jersey. I want to say.
Okay, so in New Jersey, and you guys just go? Do you buy tickets? Like, how do you get in?
So you've kind of heard about MLG before, like you know about it, like you might have watched it on Justin TV, which was the precursor to Twitch TV, or like
Okay.
you might watch it on MLG TV, and then like, but it's like you never really like you didn't get the big enough chance to kind of go.
Yeah,
right? 'Cause
I mean,
guess you were really
I've
young
heard
or
about it.
whatever. Yeah,
I remember hearing about MLG in Halo 2 days, but
Okay, there you go.
but
Yeah.
it's so weird because, like you said, it's all underground.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know anything about it.
So yeah, you buy a team pass, which is everyone chips in. So if it's like $200 and everybody pays $50, right?
Yep.
And then you guys get up there. So for us, it was like we get in the car and Baxter's dad drives us up there, and then you rent a hotel room and you just like sleep on the floor or whatever. You're kids, you don't care, right? No one really cares that much. Pretty sure we rented a double room. Baxter's dad got one bed and we all got the other bed, and someone slept on the floor, right?
That's right. I
And,
mean, you gotta live
yeah.
dangerously, right? Like, this is the dream.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, and it's the big one. It's the big tournament, man. It's where the big prize pool is. It's where the best of the best go, and like that's when it's like, that's when you kind of have a moment of realization that like maybe you weren't as good as you thought you were, right?
Yeah. It's like the hometown baseball player walking out in the dugout of a baseball field for the first time. You see the crowd,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh man, this is big.
Yeah, it's a little.
So,
it's a little
like
bit more
sorry,
than
go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a little bit more than what you've ever been used to before. So.
Yeah, no kidding. It's the thing, man. Like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you showed up. You guys are all sleeping on the floor and in beds, and
Yeah.
then you wake up one morning, like you've just got there, and I'm trying to kind of picture the scene in my head because, like I said, I don't know this at all.
I think we took a shuttle into the city, all right? Because it's
Okay,
like
so-
it's either
so
in
the
New York City or wherever.
Right.
there,
So
right there where New Jersey and New York are together.
yeah. Yep. So you and your 3 friends and your dad are all on a shuttle, like hyped up. Oh man, this is it. We're going to MLG.
Yeah, I mean,
Drive in. What happens next?
the first thing is you walk up and they've got everyone at the front gate, and you see people like you see people wearing these jerseys, and you're like, oh well, I want a jersey, right? I want my name on the back of it. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you see this guy, you see this. I may catch some heat for this, but you see this pudgy little pasty kid wearing a jersey, and his name says like XCS, and that's just like this god of like the game, right? Like that's this dude
Yeah.
that online like trashes everybody, and like there he is,
That
And
is
you're
so
just like-
crazy the way
You're just like
video
wow.
games have given this spotlight to the completely different type of person.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
So all shapes and sizes are everywhere, and you're getting
Oh, yeah.
your like maybe one of those little badges or something like that. You're waiting in line. Is it?
Yeah, so you've got to check in and stuff, and so the best players are kind of representing, or they're like at the front of the line, or they've got like the special treatment, or they're wearing
Yep.
their jerseys, and it's like holy shit, that's like, that's like if you're playing Halo, that's T squared, like that's Walsh, that's these people.
Wow.
And you're just like wow, suddenly you're suddenly in the presence of these people, but you're also in the presence of all the people that like from their online names, right? So everybody at the event just talks to each other saying like, yo, what's up? It's like it's doomsday, or yo, what's up? It's like whatever.
Wow.
My gamer
That's
tag.
so crazy.
That's how you know it's
Yeah, because that's their name.
that's how
It's
you
like
know
a
each
YouTube
other.
channel name. It's like that's what they know.
Yep. Yeah. And
What was
it's
it in?
funny
Was it in like a stadium?
It's like not a stadium, but it's like a convention center.
Okay.
Like they've rented out a convention center, and they've set up like a stage and like lights and stuff. And they've set up like stadium, like bleachers and stadium seating and stuff like that. But it's like this was in like the New Jersey Convention Center, whatever it was, that kind of deal.
Okay.
Because MLG's studio offices were in New York, so their biggest events were the ones that were like, they had events. They would sometimes, some years they would go to Canada. Sometimes they would always go to like the West Coast and have something.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest ones were East Coast, New York, New Jersey events, because those were the big ones. Those were like the championship, part of the circuit.
Right.
And yeah, so you're there. It's awkward because you meet a bunch of people. Sometimes you meet people who you've been talking like a lot of trash to. Like people that you really don't like, and all of a sudden, you're shaking hands with them and saying what's up, and everybody's a little nervous. Everybody's a little awkward, And
yeah.
But honestly, like, there's nothing like it, man. The professional events are so fun. I will say this to everybody: if you have any kind, it doesn't matter what your hobby, what your passion is. I don't know if you really like to play chess, or if you really like to you really dream to play Overwatch or Call of Duty sometime. Get up and get out and go to one. Follow whatever the professional scene is in the circuit and get involved and go to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, at least try it.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
So, like, you guys are here, sleeping on the floor in a hotel, taking a bus into the city and going to this big tournament, and it doesn't sound like it was really that expensive. And I was gonna ask you this later on, but I'll say it now. Like, I cannot imagine this not being a fond memory of like being 18 and spending some of the money you have to go to this thing that's been your hobby. It's this big event and you're seeing all these people. It sounds awesome. It really does.
Best job ever had, man.
Oh man.
Is that line from that line that they have in Fury when they're all in the tank? Best job ever had. And they're like hitting the tank.
Right.
They hate parts of the job, but they still, like, at the end of it, they love it.
Well, the fact that you like tried it too. I had someone telling me about once they graduated from high school. It was either high school or college. It might have been college, but they were saying once they graduated, it was probably high school actually. Now that I think about it, once they got out of school, they took 1 year and tried their hardest to pursue something like a dream. And just see what happens. Like, if it doesn't work out, then you go back and you just do a regular career.
Sure.
But you take that 1 year while you're young, because you might get lucky. Whether it's stand-up comedy or acting or professional gaming or movie making, whatever it is, to take that 1 year. And I don't know, it kind of depends on your finances, but you have the opportunity to just try out a dream and see if it works out.
100%. Agree.
And that it sounds like that's what you did, and so that's what makes it so exciting. So okay, so keep going with the story.
Well, I mean, there's just going to your event the first time is never going to be what you thought it was going to be. For us, we played pretty well, but we get beat pretty heavily, and then one thing that works out from it is you get to network with a lot of people. So now you get known within the community as something who actually shows up. People know who you are. Now, like, oh, that guy, like, oh, he actually goes to events. Like, he placed so and so. He did this well. He did that well. So that also helps because within pro gaming, networking is almost everything.
Oh man, that's true for everything. That like in the entertainment industry, or it's all about finding the people you know.
Mm-hmm. And no one's going to take you seriously if you're just like a random nobody that may be good online. Maybe like on leaderboards, but no one's really seen you play in person. No one's seen you at an event. Now things have changed. Things are changing a little bit now. Whereas like I see, I kind of follow Dota 2 a little bit now, and you see that like the team that just won the international picked up a player that had never been to an event before. He was like a Norwegian kid. His name was Topson, and they gave him the chance of a lifetime to kind of play with them and travel this event. And like, that's really completely unheard of from back when I played. You would never really give a shot to like just this random kid, right? You would always go with like someone you knew from the community, someone you networked with. You'd build a team with like someone who had experience going to these events.
Well, so like you just said, like this is your friends, know.
Yeah. So now maybe things have changed a little bit now. I don't know. Maybe that guy's success story is just getting really lucky. I don't know about like Call of Duty community or not. Like if they just find someone randomly who ends up being the next like prodigy, but when I played, networking and your reputation was the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. So you guys showed up at the place,
so
and you started.
Won,
do you just
like
play on a team?
Event.
Like how does it? How does the tournament sort of work?
You register your team name, and you get thrown into the shuffle of the bracket based on how many pro points you have. Which, if you're a new team, you have none, or if it's a brand new game, no one has really pro points yet.
Okay.
There was some teams who had more pro points because they had done these online qualifiers, which are these.
What's a pro point?
It's like think of it like you're seeding in tennis. You're seeded, however,
Okay.
it's so the teams with the most pro points don't even have to play on Friday. They get shot into the top of the bracket on Saturday. So they already have an advantage on everybody else. Whereas everybody else has the less and less pro points you have, the more you have to prove yourself because you go in through what's called the open bracket. You work your way up through the main.
Right. Okay.
The main
so you're playing
conglomeration of just
more games and all that stuff.
Yeah, you play. So you get there. We didn't have any points, so we get there, and we played all Friday and we won all our matches. So then that's good because that's cool. Because then it didn't really matter. Because then if you're on to Saturday, you're on to the winner and the loser bracket, and then Sunday's the championship bracket. So if you get into the winner's bracket, that's when it's getting into it means something,
Yeah. I mean, if you win a game, you win one game, that means something.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah, of course. So yeah, we won all Friday, and that was honestly, from that being the first event that we did, that was probably our downfall, is because we got way too confident.
Really?
We won Friday, and we were oh, we're so good, we're these 18-year-old kids. We think we're the best.
Yeah.
And oh, we got this, guys. We'll go tomorrow. We'll beat whoever. We'll beat the best.
It's it's a one-hit wonder sort of thing.
Yep. And so Saturday's a whole different story, man. So yeah.
What happens Saturday? You just get smashed?
Saturday, the first team came right out the gate at us and caught us completely off guard. We didn't get good sleep Friday night. Saturday morning we're kind
of... You guys are party! We don't need to sleep. We're the best team. And then you got smashed.
I think we went out and got some late night fast food and just chilled in our rooms and land and played against each other and joked around. I think Saturday we were late to the venue. We almost missed our match. We went and got breakfast. We didn't warm up at all. We just sat down. This team.
You guys are in the superstar zone. No, guys, it's fine. We're gonna be good. We'll play fine. And then
yeah, yeah. I remember we sat down and it was these dudes, these tough looking dudes from New York, right? This tough team. They were called like Monster Boys or DBS Boys or something. Rough Boys, something like that.
Yeah.
And they'd been sitting there. They were warming up. They came right at us, dude. So we ended up. Towards the end, we finally warmed up and played them really close, and we barely lose to them. And we just had the really unlucky part of having to play our next match, because it's double elimination. We had to play our next match within an hour.
Okay.
Right after
so there's
we lost,
no time to pick your pride up off the floor again.
Yeah, not much time to huddle and be come on, guys, we need to take this seriously.
This is Gears of War still.
Yeah, this is Gears of War.
Okay.
And so we went right into that next match, and we just choked, man. We could have beat that good. We could have beat those guys. We were pretty good. I mean, I don't want to say we were better than them, but we were definitely good enough to beat them. We were good enough to win.
Yeah.
And we broke down, man, and we choked, and we ended up losing. And so the rest of the tournament, we sit out and we have to watch. We just have to watch people play.
Oh.
And that was a thing of we were never gonna let that happen to us again.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. I see it as Friday sounds like it was the best day of all time. Just getting there, being blown away, and then you win. That's really insane. And then it sounds like Saturday was a bit more of well, this is what it goes like for most people. So being able to experience that Friday sounds like a dream come true, really. And then the reality hits, but at least you got that first day.
Yeah, man.
So you had to sit and watch the other players play, and I'm sure some big team ended up winning. But what was it when you guys lost? Did you guys huddle together and talk to each other?
Oh no!
Did you cry? You throwing controllers? What's that like? Is game rage a real thing?
It was bad, man. It was bad. It was.
Oh man!
It was one of my teammates and I, me personally and my teammate, we were getting each other's face. We were blaming, playing the big blame game.
Oh really? So it was getting heated.
Costing us these fucking rounds, and then. and him just saying just shut the fuck up, over and over again, and it was bad, man. We kind of were just blaming each other.
So
And,
not only did you lose and have to sit and watch, but you're all pissed off at each other.
Yeah, completely immature, man.
No, I mean, like, I get it. I feel you on that, because I'm trying to imagine, like, I can get like that playing regular video games just with pizza.
Yeah.
I didn't pay $200 to go to a tournament, and so, when you're pushing little buttons and stuff, and you don't quite push the button just right, you flip out. You're like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not playing the game right." I totally understand it. I wouldn't imagine you being any other way.
Well, yeah, man, but I mean, that's something that you gotta learn, is that.
Well, once you lose your cool.
The toxicity will like put a dead stop to your career real quick. So it's like, that was like in a sense my first experience going to MLG was developmentally was very important to me, because it allowed me to later become much stronger of a competitor and much better of a person too, I think.
I mean, it's a kind of like stand-up comedy, where they say that bombing is actually really good for you.
I would agree. Yeah, it sounds really logical to me, man. I mean, you have to go through some significant point where you do a lot of growing, right? And because the path to the top of, like, I think anything that you're doing, I really believe this mantra. Like, if you are extremely involved in your career, you're working your way up through the business ladder, you're working on getting your podcast available to a larger and larger audience, you're trying to become a professional gamer, you're trying to be a professional tennis player, like, many of those things are different, but a lot of them share very similar, like, developmental, like, paths to success, right? There are going to be challenges you face that are similar no matter what you are and what you're doing. And there's going to be growth that you have to make as an individual. That's like, until you make this growth, you will not get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
You will not achieve the ultimate goal of whatever it is you're going for.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a certain amount of talent that you can be born with. Like, you just happen to be pretty good at video games or good at guitar or whatever it is. But there's a certain amount of discipline that you have to learn too. I see a lot of people that are pretty naturally good at a lot of things, but they don't know how to put the time in. And so then there's a lot of people that put the time in, but they weren't very good. And those people like that, the ones that are naturally good and the ones that become good, they tend to compete pretty evenly, I think. But there's the people that are naturally good, but then somehow get whipped up so that they put the time in. Those are the ones that do super well. Problem is, then there's a whole bunch of those, and then they all compete. But that's that's a whole level of experience that I feel like you have to get to with, like we said, like even like with YouTube, because I have my YouTube channel and the stuff that I do, and like I've had some like very successful videos. I had one of my first videos on YouTube, and just to throw numbers out there to make it make sense, one of my first YouTube videos got like over 100,000 views. But
awesome, man.
But that was like earlier on, and I can look back on it and go, man, I wish I'd taken more advantage of that. I didn't really know how to do social media marketing and tags and SEO and accumulate. But it's like I was just a kid, I had a couple of videos that did super well, but opportunity comes and goes, and what you're telling me now sounds very similar to that, where it was like this opportunity that you got to do. You had it go south, but what happened after that? What happened after Saturday?
Well, Saturday and Sunday, you watch the best players become the best and win, and you kind of go home and you're at a crossroads. You make a decision. Do I stick in this, or did I do this and I gave it my best, or maybe my parents aren't really this cool on this idea anymore. I didn't really win a lot of money. It wasn't as successful, so maybe I'll just kind of just play games for fun. I won't try and compete anymore.
Wait, this was after the first time?
Yeah, after the first time, I think we lost. Not for anyone on my team particularly, but I know that there were people that just kind of give up. And for me, it was like the complete opposite. I was like, I could not wait to go to another tournament. I could not wait to play again.
Well, it sounds
And
like you
was
guys slipped up too. So you're like, all right, we messed up, we choked. Let's try again.
Yeah. It
Which
was
is like the
I
best
can't wait to
mentality.
prove. Yeah, I can't wait to prove that like I'm way better than that, basically.
Right.
And from there it just went into like a you keep going, man. I took a little break there and went for like a Halo tournament one time because like Gears of War was actually off the circuit for a little while. MLG was like restructuring. I think they were like trying to figure out their finances. Call of Duty was huge, so they invested a lot into like PlayStation and Call of Duty. They got some pushback from the creators of Gears of War, which was Epic Games. They didn't get a lot of support from them, so like there was a time period there where Gears of War was dropped from MLG.
Oh,
And,
you're like, no!
yeah, everybody was like, it just faded off into the underground, and like some the community still like lived, but it was like a big dent. It took a big hit. Like Gears of War could have grown into being as big as Halo, probably. I mean, obviously not everyone's going to agree that I say that, but I think it could have. But you know, there was reluctance there from Epic Games. They did not like, for whatever reason. I think a guy's name is Cliffy B. I heard somewhere that there was an interview with him, and he hated the idea that like people were trying to make like a sport out of it and stuff, and he was like more like look, I just want you to get on my game and like chainsaw somebody in half and like have some fun, and like he did not like the idea.
That's so weird. I feel like if I was doing something and the best of the best were like competing if I invented a sport and people were like, we want this to be a national sport, would that not be like the biggest compliment?
People are different.
Designers, man.
Yeah, and he, I think he had like a bad experience or something. I don't know if he like.
Maybe he lost.
'Cause the community can be a little rough around the edges, man. Like these people, they're really passionate, but these people are also like, sometimes these are so like some tough kids from like inner city New York and stuff. Like these people can be pretty disrespectful, and maybe either he or somebody high up in Epic like got a bad taste in their mouth about these young like pieces of shit, these young thugs that like demand so much. They want money for their game. They want sponsorship for their game. They want exposure. Like, no, we'll continue to make Gears of War, but we don't care at all about like.
Right, we don't want to
esports.
enable this.
Right, we don't care about esports. We just care about making like a game that's fun to like blow someone up with a grenade launcher, and like that's what we want.
Right.
And that was the difference between. Honestly, that was the big difference between Gears of War and Call of Duty. Like Call of Duty from the very beginning was like, no, we love MLG. Like I'm pretty sure they donate. Like there was like someone out there knows better than me, but I'm fairly certain there was the guy that ran MLG's name was Sundance, and like Sundance Giovanni, and he got like help from Sony. He got help from Activision. He got help from those companies to promote Call of Duty. I don't know if they loaned him a bunch of PlayStations and copies of the game. I don't know if they paid him a bunch of money to promote it and hold the event. But like there was definitely a difference there between financial support from the game companies between Activision and between Epic Games. And in the end, you saw Gears of War get dropped from the circuit, and you saw games like Street Fighter. Like Capcom was also extremely reluctant too. You saw Capcom get dropped from the circuit. Street Fighter, I'm sorry. You saw Nintendo never really get a chance until way later. Like Smash. Like that's like Nintendo's the ultimate example. I guess
Smash Brothers, Smash Brothers should be huge.
You had Smash Brothers Melee, which was like the one of the most diehard communities, and then you've got Nintendo that like is sending them cease and desist orders for like holding tournaments for the game. Like
that's so weird.
Yeah. So now
I want to talk about I want to focus on your story, because like
Sure.
I want to know what it's like to be a pro gamer. So let's go back into that more. So you wanted to get better, and you guys started really working at it at this point. And I imagine that after getting kind of beat up, you're like, okay, I know the type of punches that are going to come at us, so we got to really have our game down. So let's continue that story.
Oh, I mean, it's just it's like,
Did you? I mean, you went back to MLB. Was it the same sort of? When was that?
You keep going. The next years. I kind of kept with it as long as it was on the circuit, and then I took a break and played Halo. Went to a Halo event. Placed pretty well in that. Then like Gears of War came back, and I played that again. But it's like you know, it takes a very long time to get to the top because you have to build your reputation, you have to build your name up, and you have to, like, to become the best, you have to play against the best, and the best teams won't even play against you unless you're somebody. You know, the best teams aren't even going to, like, practice against you if you're just a random nobody team. So you have to constantly just work your way up the ladder.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like, when you went back, though, like, when you guys went back, I know you told me that you spent 5 years, I think, going on off and on between Gears and War stuff. Is that
Sounds
correct?
about right, yeah.
Yeah, and you told me some of the levels that you got to, because you were saying that... Oops, I'm going to hit my desk right there. You told me that you did start to hit some achievements, so like you started to place, like what was that like? And you got a sponsor eventually too. And like, how in the world did that happen? Like, how do you get a sponsor in gaming?
So you find, like, you basically either get like lucky and you just play extremely well at one event and get your name out there, or you just keep going back and you consistently play and you consistently try and do a little bit better this time.
Do they go to you? Like, they show up and they're like, hey, let's introduce ourselves. We are a possible sponsor. Yeah, so you'll kind of hear about stuff like that. Like, you'll be in the community, and a lot of it was done through Twitter. And I was going to say, like what a community? Like, online? The
Gears of War, like, Twitter community, I would say, is where a lot of it came from.
Okay, so that's like the social media marketing of the day.
Yeah, I would say the biggest presence for Gears of War was definitely on Twitter.
Okay. And so were you on Twitter, like, messaging around trying to find sort of sponsor?
You're on Twitter, you follow people follow you, and people are posting, and then all of a sudden someone will retweet a post that says, like, this organization is looking like it. This usually happens when a new title comes out. So it was like Gears of War Ultimate Edition is like coming out, and then esports has finally been growing, and like esports is becoming like a thing that's recognized, and so these organizations will be like, oh, we want to come sponsor a team. Like, send it, DM us a message, see what, talk to us about what's going on. And so at that point, I had a pretty big connection with a guy who had placed pro multiple times in Gears of War. And I sent him a message and I said, Gears of War Ultimate Edition's coming out. I want to be a part of a team. I kind of had a conversation with him, and he was on board with the idea of teaming with me. He obviously knew who I was. We played against each other. And through him, he was the one who secured a sponsorship with Vanquish Gaming, which was a Call of Duty organization. They were looking to branch out into Gears of War because the new title was coming out.
Okay.
So this guy kind of took care of all that. Like, he'd been a pro before, so he had the most connections. He had the most followers on Twitter, and he just gets us online one time in a chat and just says, hey, like, this. We got a sponsorship. This is what's going to happen. They're going to send you some documents that you got to sign. I did them online. It was like, so you gave them an e-signature. So basically, it's like a thing where, you promise them that you're going to. They provide you with jerseys. You go by like their name, like their definition. Like, so you'll go by like Vanquish. Like my name at the time was like Pistol Virtuoso. So
it's like, it's like a sport team. Like, the sport team is like, hey, we want you to be a part of our team.
Right. So you start going by their name, like you become like a part of their organization. You represent them, so you're kind of like a little bit of a public image. And within, it's not a huge thing, but like within the community, like, okay, there's
you got like you said, you got your jersey.
Yeah, those guys play for so those guys play for Vanquish.
There's kids showing up their first day, just like you did, and they're seeing you with the jersey now.
So that's like, at that point, it's like that's everything, because then you have people that are just like randomly messaging you and following you on Twitter, like, oh man,
like dude, the fame, really, wow, that's awesome.
Like, that's when it like comes up, like, oh man, like, do you think we could like get a scrim against you guys tonight? Like, can we practice against you guys? Like, we really want to play the Vanquish team, like. And it's like, sure, man, like, and and it's like one of those things. It's like, that was like the finally the moment of like I made it. Like, you made it, dude. Like, like, you worked at this for so long, and like, they give, you sign a contract that says you're going to give them a percentage of your winnings, but like, our contract with Vanquish was actually pretty good. I've heard of some pretty bad contracts for some like pretty known esports organizations, and ours was like really darn good. They just wanted like, I think they wanted 30% of winnings, And in return, they paid us a monthly stipend. They paid for our travel. They paid for our team pass, and they gave us jerseys.
Did they pay for your hotel and stuff?
Yeah.
Man, that is so insane. Like that sounds so awesome.
Like we were still like one of the up and coming teams, so like we didn't get like a big contract. Like some teams got like, a huge amount of money per month, right? And then like some Twitch like sponsorship, and they have to like stream a certain amount. Like imagine the dudes who play like Counter-Strike for like Cloud9 or something. They have like a contract where they have to stream Twitch, and they have to probably give like a percentage of their earnings and stuff. But like it never got anything to like that meteoric of a level. But like it was like a pretty significant thing. I was really proud of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I have a goal. I haven't met this goal, unfortunately, because it's a difficult goal to achieve, and it's getting more difficult to achieve. Life goal may or may not happen. I want to get some sort of paid check from YouTube. Because for the rest of my life, I can now say, I got a paycheck from YouTube. Boom. That's awesome, right? I don't know if it'll happen. YouTube keeps changing their conditions for that.
Yeah,
and right now,
it's like harder and harder, doesn't it?
Well, now it's like you have to be making a certain amount of views consistently over time. It's not like you just make one video and it blows up. It's like you have to keep getting a certain amount of views, and then you are eligible to get monetized, and then you got to wait to get It's like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. But I was just going to say that is one of my goals. And so you're playing video games as a kid, and then you go to the MLG tournament, and now you got a sponsor. So you're getting... What, did you get a check in the mail? Was it direct deposit? Like you got an MLG or probably a Vanquish check? I have no idea what it would even be like.
Yeah, they mailed me a check.
So a letter comes in the mail, you rip it open, and it's like, here's X amount of money from Vanquish for gaming. Like, what does it even say on the memo thing?
It just says it's like a stipend, like a hey, like this is your monthly payment, This is, and you're under contract, so you can't, like, it means that you can't go and represent another organization when you go to the event. So they're obviously like banking on the fact that you're gonna, they're placing faith in you that you're gonna do well.
Right.
Maybe they'll make a little money off you by your earnings from winning the tournament. They'll get a portion of that, but they'll also, whatever sponsorships and deals they have, it'll come back to them. Like maybe they have some sort of deal with the clothing apparel, and like Team Vanquish clothing, you can go to their website and buy a hoodie or something like that. Like there's financial incentives on both sides, but being a player where you get that sort of thing offered to you is it's like a big deal for a lot of people, man.
Well, that's the thing, is like I said about that check that I was talking about. For the rest of your life, you can say that you were sponsored in MLG. There's not a lot of people that can say that sort of thing.
True, man.
And now you can always say it forever.
True.
Now, at the peak, talk about the peak of your performance in the game, your team, your sponsorship. Tell me a little bit about that. What was that like?
That's probably like right around. I mean, as nice as this story has sounded, that's right around when I've ran into the most difficulty.
Really?
Because the stakes were never higher, and that's when you go. That's the big leagues, dog. And we just ended up getting beat by the other best of the best teams, and you sort of have a.
But how much were you like playing games? Like how many tournaments were you going to? What was practice like outside of the tournaments? I'm trying to like picture the lifestyle, because I have no idea what the lifestyle would be.
Yeah, so during this time, again, Gears of War is a smaller game, so there's only
and how old were you? Sorry, around this time, just so I can picture it a little better.
Let me think of this. I was 23, 24 at this point.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So.
Walk me through it. Yeah, I mean, so Gears of War is a small game, so there aren't that many tournaments, but there's like one or two big ones a year, and so those are the ones that you go to, and those are the ones that mean everything. How well you play, how well you place means everything. But as far as practice wise, it's practice every day, man. It's like your life. For me,
how many hours? Like how many hours a
day? Let's see. When I was preparing for, the big tournament, the Hype Fest Station or MLG, it was probably 6 hours a night with the team, and probably 4 to 6 hours on my own time, practicing, like playing by myself or playing with a friend.
10 hours? 10 hours a day?
10 to 12 hours a day, man.
Full-time job practicing.
Full-time job.
How many days a week?
Every day. No breaks, man. Not like right when you're preparing for the tournament, there are no breaks.
Good God, that's insane. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's serious, man. So you're practicing all day, every day.
It's very easy to
Going
get
up.
burnout. It's really easy to get burnout, actually, and I'm sure like I would love to hear like a professional medical or like psychology opinion on that, because like I think that there's certainly a point where you're doing something too much because you get burnout and maybe your sleep schedule gets like screwed up, or you've just been sitting and playing too much, man. You know you need something fresh, you need something else in your life. But
Did you
for
get
me, it was like
angry and oh, sorry, what were you about to say?
oh yeah, the stress is like off the charts, man. Like stress is like absolutely insane. I mean, it's so weird. It's so weird to hear someone say that like someone's like stressed out and like, you know, having a hard time playing video games. But it's honestly the truth, man. You give it everything you got. You know.
Well, here's
You
the thing.
really-
Like, I think about this. Like, actually, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because when I'm on my computer and someone looks over my shoulder, I can't even type. I'm like, typo, can't. Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, the pressure, and I get irritated and I get frustrated because I can't type with someone looking over my shoulder for some reason. And so if someone was like, hey, Luke, we're gonna pay you multiple $1,000s a month, but you need to type all this stuff without making mistakes.
Yeah.
Push these buttons on the keyboard. You're like, what? Oh, I'm going to make a mistake. It's going to be so easy to make a mistake on that. And so playing a video game and having that sort of pressure of being like, move your fingers just multiple inches in different directions, tap these little buttons, and if you mess up, that means you're going to lose the game. You're not going to get paid. So you better practice pushing those buttons every day for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Insane. Like, it
Don't
blows my
forget
mind,
about
really.
don't forget about the mental aspect of like, you have to, not only do you have to be like, technically better, like better in a technical sense that you, you're faster and your movement in the game is good and your aim with your gun is like your shooting is good. You also, it's like, you have to outsmart your opponent constantly. Like it is like huge mental drain to like try and make use of 6 hours of practice time with your team and like let that be efficient. Like you guys want every single scrimmage you guys have, every single game you guys want to like, you want it to be very efficient. You want to like work on things. You want to get better at things, positioning. You want to see results. You want to get wins. You don't want to get losses. Like losses are crushing because it means like, you're like, what the hell am I doing? I practice so much and we can't even beat these guys. It's like that sort of thing. Like it's very
Right.
easy to get you like trapped in your own head with these bad thoughts. And so it's like, I would say equally as important as like having the mechanical and technical skill of like your movement. So as in for Gears of War, it's your control over your character and how you move. Like Gears of War is a game. It's a game where the movement's very unique. It's like cover base, but you have to move in and out of cover, and you do that by issuing like commands with the A button. And there are like ways to like sort of cheat the game by like using different fingers on like, there's like different ways you hold the controller to like move faster and stuff. And like obviously like the technical part is like so important, but I think equally important is just like the mental as well, because you take like you really don't think something like a video game shooter can be like that strategic. And when you get to when you're talking at the top of the level, like the very pinnacle of like the best players playing against each other, there's huge amounts of strategy involved. Like so much strategy. We're talking down to like timings of like getting somewhere like within the timings of a second being off. Like if you get there you're looking at the clock, like you want to reach a certain area because you like hit off a certain amount of walls to get somewhere fast enough. Like if you get there 0.5 of a second too late, then the other guy has first shot on you, so he's gonna probably beat you, because if you're talking about someone of equal skill, he's as good as you, you're as good as him, and he gets to the position where like the little battle takes place, and he has first shot on you, then he's gonna win.
Right.
Think
It's
about
almost
it.
like if you both had three headshots or three something like that you
Right,
could
his
both
third
pull
headshot's
off.
gonna hit
But
you
his-
0.5
right,
of a
his-
second faster than yours is gonna hit him.
Now, are you guys
So
doing
it's
like
like-
timers? Like, how are you guys practice? Is there any like not match practice where it's like, okay, let's time how long it takes us to go from this side of the map to this side of the map.
Of course. Oh
And
yeah, of course.
Let's see how how many seconds it takes to shoot this gun, the accuracy of this. Is that really all involved with some of the practice?
There's all that. There are days where, maybe not days, but there are certainly like an hour where you just go over the map. You're not playing against anyone. You guys are just practicing going in the map, and you like learn all the different locations, and you practice getting somewhere fast enough. And like one thing that'll happen is some team will figure out some exploit or some situation where they're more efficient than anybody else, and that'll translate directly into them winning rounds because of that like little thing they figured out. Like,
so it's like a tactile, like if we go into this corner and then people coming through this doorway, we can get them. Or
oh man, it's like there used to be a thing of like depending on where your controller was plugged in, when you get to when you're at the tournament, your controller port is plugged in, like the spawn location of your character would be different. So you would give
what?
Like it would matter that like who was plugged into what certain port, because like that person is spawning at the front of the formation.
The things that
dude, because like if that person
gaming nerds figure out is so insane.
Dude.
Like I know my friend was telling me about playing Halo 3 versus Halo 4, and he was like, "Oh, I don't like Halo 4 because there's no leading. You don't have to lead your shots, so it's easier for people." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, if you shoot this gun and the person's far enough away, you have to aim in front of them because your bullet like does it." And something like that. You know, like little things like that people notice and figure out. And oh man, it's insane. It's just crazy to me the amount of effort people put in. And then the people patch the game, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
That's funny. Yeah.
Tell me about like what was like your worst. Do you have a memory of like a worst night or worst day during all this? I know it's annoying to bring up bad, but like maybe like you're throwing your controller and just losing your mind.
Losing the contract is pretty bad. That's probably the worst.
Really?
Yeah,
oh, so it was actually an event?
Yeah, I mean we didn't place well enough, and so we kind of like the decision was up in the air, and I hit the leader of the team up. We left the event. We all said, at this point in my career, I had developed into much more mature of a player. I was not baby raging anymore and yelling at people. It was a mutual understanding. Like, we didn't play that well. Okay, like what does this mean for the future? Well, we don't know what it means. We'll have to see what it means.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, so I remember saying goodbye to my team captain I took him to the airport, and he was getting on the plane. I said bye. I said bye to him, and we left on amicable terms. And then like within the next 48 hours, there's like a Twitter conversation, private conversation that goes down in the Twitter DMs, and it's like basically like the guy who owns Vanquish is like dissolving the contract. Like I'm staying, like he's gonna keep me, but like you and Eric, like the other, like you and your other teammate are being let go. Like, and it's not like it's not like a mean thing. It's really not like a mean thing. Like the way he came about it was like, he just said, we needed more time together as a team. We didn't place well like we should have. I think all four of us understand that. And and obviously I want to continue to have some sort of personal friendship or whatever with you in the future,
right.
But for now things are ending. And then it's like, okay, that like going like that moment of like going back to square one was really tough.
Man,
because it was like
imagine.
And that was like I had dedicated really like a full-time job worth to this game, and falling short fucking sucks sometimes, dude.
So like
literally an example of like
the fact that you made it that
everything
far,
you could,
like,
yeah,
it's insane though. Like I don't know if you're beating yourself up about it at all, but I mean,
not so much these days anymore, but certainly I did. Yeah, I mean, like giving it everything you got, like absolutely what I felt like was 100% from me. I can't say that about all my other teammates. I'm not them, but I think I gave like that period of time in my life when I was playing, I gave that 100%. And
right.
like you're just not good enough, man. Like it's like that's a really hard thing to come to terms with, depending on the type of personality you have.
Definitely. I mean, I know that I had things before, even if it was just like a relationship or something, where I remember there's something this happened where I felt like I had played my best hand, where I was like delivery was great, the day was planned out well. I did, like, this was with a girl or something, which
Yeah.
always goes on. But I was like, I did all these things just right. I played a perfect hand. I nailed it. That was great. And then they still said no, and it was
Yeah.
like, and you're like, wait, what?
Just
Well, that was my best hand. How in the world could I?
Yep.
Yeah. And so, like, I can imagine that, like, in the game, where it's like, it sounds like you did everything you really could have possibly done. And so, like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So you got the news. I'm sure it felt like a punch to the kidney. Hearing
man, that sucked because it's like, well, what do I do now? Like, I've dedicated so much time to this, right?
When was this? When did this happen?
Let's see. We're in 2018. This was probably 2016.
Okay.
Let me think. Hold on. I can figure this out real quick because I'm kind of interested here myself as well.
Tracing back through the timeline.
Yeah. Go back to. Yeah, this was 2016.
Okay.
This was the end of the year because the summer of 2016 was the spring and summer was when I finally got that contract, and then
Right.
by the end of the fall, going into winter is when it had been terminated.
I almost feel like, I mean, obviously I'm not a professional gamer, but I almost feel like it's better to just have it end, like, just cut off, done. Okay, now move on to something else, as opposed to it fizzling out over, because I know a lot of people that are actors because of the film stuff I do, and to see somebody who's a certain age going, I think this is just not working, but maybe it will, but it's just not, and it just kind of fizzles for a very long time where they can't give it up, but then they can't hold on to it either, and so then they just kind of are in purgatory, limbo for years. And so in a way, to have it like,
you see a lot of no, I mean, like, following celebrities and stuff, you see a lot of tragedy happen during those times.
Celebrities and YouTuber, or like YouTube celebrities, movie stars, all of it, where it's like it just fizzles out, and they keep kind of trying, but it kind of fizzles. And to have it at least go like, I made it this far, I kind of got cut from the team at this point. I wasn't the only one who got cut from the team, but at least it was. I'm trying to think how to explain what I'm trying to say. I guess we'll go back to girls again. We'll go back to relationships. So if I don't know if I'm dating someone or not, that's really difficult. I'd almost rather it either be or not be, but have it sort of. I can't do that.
Yeah, I hear you.
So let's move on from that, because it sounds like that probably was kind of a hard time for you. I don't know if it was like a couple months of just, I can't imagine, it's kind of a smashed dream a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think you should feel bad about it, dude. It sounds like you did everything you should have done. Like, what more can you do after that?
Yeah,
what would have sucked is if you didn't do all you could do, and then you're like, oh, maybe if I...
Yeah, left something on the court there.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you do at that point?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much, that wraps a lot of it up, because it wasn't too long after that I pretty much retired, and I was just like, I looked at things and I realized that going back and getting close to achieving everything I'd achieved was going to take a lot of work. And at that point I was kind of just feeling my way out. I moved to a new city. Realized that I had kind of descended into this like pretty unattractive person in some ways, that I was dating a girl and not spending a lot of time with her, and there was a lot of stuff I was neglecting, like what am I actually going to do with my career, like what am I actually going to do with my life, like what
about like health-wise?
Yeah, health-wise was bad. Put on weight, man. It was bad, dude. It was bad. I wouldn't, I just wasn't keeping up with myself, man. This was, going after this dream was everything. It really was. It was everything, and all of a sudden you look around and you're looking through your phone. You've got text messages from months ago that just like cut off, and you don't even talk to those people anymore and you don't even remember those months because you were so focused on something else. It's like, oh shit. So it's like, you can always text those old friends from college. You can always try and spark up conversation with those relationships, but it's like you did lose a significant amount of time there, in your mid-20s, right? So it's like at that point I was like, okay, maybe I'm not good enough, and that's pretty much like, okay, I'll just kind of accept that, and like I'm not going to. I'm getting a little old, and like you watch the younger generation, because you see I was in it long enough to see generations go through. Like you see people cycle through, and you watch the youngest teams become the best and get sponsored by like Optic Gaming and stuff. And you watch them play, and you realize that just like going against them, I would not have a chance, dude. They would be so much better than me in every way. And
keep going.
I mean, I was just gonna like to wrap it up. I was just gonna say, so you pretty much you reach a point of acceptance. Like you could continue to work really, really hard, and you would not be middle of the pack. You would be sort of upper part of the pack. You would be one of those guys known as like he's always solid, he's always always good. Maybe he plays pretty well, goes to events and stuff. Or like, but he's not one of the best and not ever gonna be one of the best. Or you could kind of just like accept that like you had your time, you had your chance, and like figure out what else you're going to do. Like maybe you can go into like full-time streaming, or maybe you can become like a cast. Like some of the guys that I knew that I used to play with now cast games full-time, or one guy works for Microsoft with their esports division, and one guy like got a job at Coalition Studios, which is what Epic like sold off the rights to Gears of War 2. So now he's actually developing like the next Gears of War game, and he's like,
oh wow,
he's on like one of the balance teams for like the multiplayer, right? So he's going to be like tuning the multiplayer and providing like input and balance for like the competitive side, and like something like that, like I look up as being like, man, that's probably like the next thing I want to do. Like that's like a really good idea of like, I would honestly like, I would love the ability to like work for Coalition and help them like tune and design the competitive multiplayer experience, or maybe be like, because now like the Coalition is actually really interested in esports, and like Gears of War is like, they're pushing it like pretty hard. They got like a bunch of help from Microsoft. They got a bunch of money, and like the future of Gears of War looks pretty positive. There's going to be a new game coming, Gears of War 5. I don't know if you've seen the trailers for that. It looks awesome, man. It's going to be like, it's going to be a pretty big thing. Like they're going full force on the esports. Like it'd be really cool to go into something like that, like be like an esports ambassador, like work for like the Coalition, work for Microsoft, something like I've seen some of my fellow players do. And some of the guys are still in the game. Honestly, some of the guys I played with back in the day are still playing.
Oh wow. What kind of advice or opinions would you give people that are thinking about being a professional gamer? What would you tell them? If someone walked up to you and said that to you, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be two answers. One of them is that don't ever not go for a dream that you have. Always, just whatever you love doing, dude. Maybe you love playing ping pong. Maybe you love playing Gears of War. Maybe you have visions of being like, the next CEO of Amazon or something. But always like you mentioned, that take a year off. I'd say take more than that, dude. Take some time off and figure out, what you want to do and go for it, man. Just get out there and go for it. And you're gonna, whether you have the success of reaching the goals that you set out for yourself or not, you're still gonna like have a wonderful experience of like doing something that you really like always wanted to do. And as far as anyone who's looking to become a professional gamer, just be aware that you're gonna have to treat it like you're gonna have to treat it like training for the Olympics of ping pong or something. Like think about how hard the person who like trains to be like the best archer at the Olympics, like probably every day, right? I mean, I would say certainly I would agree. You're gonna have to give it a lot of time, and there's gonna be a lot of points where you're gonna give up, or you're gonna want to give up, and you're gonna want to like just sort of play the game for fun. Because and I say that because like it becomes a job for sure. It's still fun, and it always is fun, and it'll be some of the most fun you'll ever have. But you do have to look at it as like, it's more than just fun. It's like, I'm going to treat it as like this is what I'm going to do. Like for you, you're doing these podcasts, like this is what you're going to do. Like someone has to realize that you have no idea like how competitive this gets until you really get to the top and you really start to look around and see that like these people train so hard for this, man. Like these people are like, they're streaming 4 hours a day. They're training 6 hours a day. They're going to all these events. They're practicing. Like it's no longer. It really is no
and
longer
they're
like
bottom
a
of the
fun.
barrel too. You know, it's like
I
they're
mean, like
doing all that,
like
and then
the
they're
people just trying to break into the scene are some of the hardest working. But like, and then I would say it's sort of like, think of it like a little like a curve, right? The people like trying so hard, they've got this dream, like I'm gonna be the best Call of Duty player, right? They're trying so hard, like they're working really hard, and then you get to like a middle of the pack where it slips off a little bit, and then you get back to the point where the people who are the best of the best, like the absolute best top 3 teams, so 16 players, top 15, 16, 20 players in the world, those guys are back right on to being that's the final tier, dude, of like how hard those guys work. And I'll tell you, like I've played against the people who are the best in the game, and it's nothing you're ever prepared for, because you have never played against somebody who has thought so much about everything, every angle of attack you're trying to come at them with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you guys are practicing in scrimmages and in strategizing. You're going to throw your best stuff at them, right? And like you have to remember that like they've also got the best of the best teams throwing their best stuff at them. So it's like it's a really humbling experience to realize that like human beings can end up being really, really fucking good at something if they like try at it, dude. Like that. Let me leave it at that.
Insane. It's
like
insane.
whether like think about like how good like people are at, like, you know, the best engineers at like Boeing are at designing.
Well, no,
like,
I was going to say,
stuff.
think about this. Think about people that are doing stuff like, oh, I'm in a city and there's this guy on a unicycle on a tightrope juggling, and you're like, how in the world did you get good at that? You know, and so it's like there's so many crazy people out there that just want to be good at something.
Yeah, dude.
And they'll just go nuts. It's like it's almost like you wonder if they're like okay in the head, they're that obsessive about it. You know what I mean?
Then there has to be. You know, what is that about? There's you read about the mind of a Fortune 500 CEO. You know, like what his mind goes and what his day looks like and stuff. Like to get to the top of something like that, like there has to be a certain level of crazy. I really think
they're insane. You know, they're like on the spectrum or something. Just like so obsessive, it's crazy. You know, and I want to touch on something that you said earlier, where you're talking about the game becomes your job in a lot of ways, and you just
definitely
are working on it. And I
there's
did
no
this
way you
thing.
can be the best if you don't treat it like a job.
Right. I was back in. I was probably early college. I was doing this filming job for somebody. I was basically filming this national tennis player, and he had a tennis match.
Yeah, man.
It was in Virginia. So I was just filming him. I was basically just filming him and his opponent so that he could watch the tape later on and see how he played in a way. So it was this national tennis player. So there was a break, and I got to talk to him for probably 20 minutes or so. And so I was just chit-chatting because I wasn't filming and he wasn't playing. So I said, what else do you do besides tennis? And he said, oh, well, I play basketball, and I play baseball, and I play volleyball, and all the other sports. So he's like, not only is he a good tennis player, but he plays all these other sports. And, I wasn't really thinking about the question I asked him until, after I said it. But I said, oh, well, which one are you the best at? And he said, well, I'm the best at tennis. And I said, well, which one's your favorite? And then I went, oh, whoops. That's kind of a dumb question, Obviously tennis, right? And he said, no. And I was like, what? And he goes, I hate tennis. And I was like, wait a second, what? And he goes, all I do all day, all the time is play tennis.
Yep.
I used to love it, and now I hate it. But it's the one I'm the best at, so I'm going to keep playing. And that stuck with me. And I think...
Yeah, man, can we get a psychology major in here? Because I want to hear about these... it sounds like, this, like... what do you call it? Burnout, this idea of just doing something too much, because I feel it. There has to be a correlation.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's some hobbies that I never pursued a film career, really. Yeah. But I don't know. Like, maybe I would ruin what I love doing. Like, I would ruin video editing because...
You certainly get to a point where it's like... yeah.
I mean, you still play games, though, right? Like...
Yeah, so that's the thing, is like it's always going to be something that stays with you, I think. Just like an old like golf pro is always going to be hitting the ball at the links, It's like something...
Here's the thing, though, dude. I feel like... I don't mean to say you should be thankful, but I mean, imagine being an old golfer and spending like 30 years trying to do it, and then you can't do it. And now
Woo.
it's like, imagine
Yeah.
being where you are right now, but 20 years later. And like, I think that 20s in general, I've said this to people before, where I think they're like, it's like the second puberty in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like a new way of growing, where you're like, all right, I've went through all my hormone growing. Now, what is my life? Like, what is my job and what is my career and where do I live? And like me personally, I'm going through some of that, going like, well, is this what I want to do the rest of my life? Is it time to make a career change? And
Sure.
I think we're, no pun intended because of the name, we're all in the same boat, podcast name, but like we're all trying to figure it out. Is this a career I should go down? Did I waste this time doing this stuff? Because, like I spent a year and a half in Los Angeles and I hated it. And I just had my head down and I was working and doing my job, and I didn't like my job, and I didn't like my apartment. I didn't like the place I was living. But like you said, the time kind of just flew by, and it wasn't until I kind of snapped out of it and was like, what am I doing? I just wasted like a whole year and a half of my life. I could have been making friends. I could have been going out more. And, it's like we all have those, like everything you're saying, it sounds so familiar, but just in like a different way,
Sure, man. Well, the one thing is you through that year and a half that you had, you did some growth there, like you learned more, you learned stuff about yourself. And I think like I'm always like I think that's always like really important, is like, I'm one of those, it sounds cheesy, but like, there's the best learning you're ever going to do is probably like things that you'll teach yourself. It's not something that someone's going to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something you're going to learn about yourself, or something you're going to learn through like experiences that you have.
Yeah, no, actually, I really agree with that. And I know that when there's so many things that I did learn, even though they were hard lessons, it was like putting me in a place where because I kind of hit rock bottom a little bit there. And I can imagine that when
I can hear that, and I can really empathize. I can understand.
Did you hit rock bottom? Was that like a lowest point?
Well, yeah,
for you?
I mean, it's like, gosh, I've been like, it's like, what did I just spend all this time, man?
Yeah.
And you like look around a little bit, and you see friends you went to college with, or friends you went to high school with, and they instead of doing what I did, they just graduated and went into like whatever career it was, and now they're actually like they've worked their way up, So you're like, when you do something like that, you did miss out on a little bit of time, and maybe if you decide to head into something else, you'll realize that you're gonna have to play catch up a little bit. But
yeah,
I mean, going back to something that you said, where it's like that time in LA. Also, that time in LA brought you to this point where you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here you are. Like you learned something about yourself, and here you are doing these podcasts.
Well, exactly.
And you're in Seattle, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's something people need to realize is people don't talk about this stuff a whole lot, where they feel down and kind of rock bottom about, well, I got married too early, or I didn't travel enough, or I went into my career too fast, because you are kind of living the life that I didn't live, where even though it ended up not working out perfectly in the end, you took that time to pursue a career. And now you're like in this place where you're trying to kind of figure out like what my career, because you're in school now, right? Do you want to tell me, do you want to say what you're doing, or is that something you'd rather keep private?
I've applied to this program, and it's kind of like the way I talk to people, it's a little bit like being waitlisted, but if you make a certain amount of, you maintain a certain GPA, they look at your transcript, they look at your high school grades, your college grades, then it's like kind of like earn your way in admissions.
Okay.
And I've been kind of keeping on the deal, not talking about it too much, but it's like a fantastic opportunity to just kind of like prove your worth. And for me, it's been really engaging. And this second semester has been really challenging for me.
What
The first semester was, it's through Harvard, and
okay.
The first semester was challenging, but the second one has like been, obviously it's the professor has more. It just builds. It's just more standards, a higher standard, and you have to do better, and class moves faster, and so it's really kind of like a crash course on whether you can whether you can be a student there or not. And so far I'm finding it to be challenging and rewarding too. It's like that's like one of the things is like, man, like I'm actually doing this. Like so the first semester I did pretty well, and that was like a big confidence booster, right? Because
really,
you don't have an idea.
Hey, don't repeat Friday at MLG, okay?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Stay focused.
There's the best lesson from the podcast, right?
Right.
But it's like wow, okay, like maybe holy shit, maybe this can be accomplished. Maybe this is something that I can do, and to go back to that conversation, it's just I'm learning about myself, man. I'm learning about I've learned about like my limits in one avenue of something, and now I'm learning about my limits. Otherwise, I'm just going to push. So we'll see what happens.
What are you hoping to do?
Well, I want to go into the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences.
Very good. That's good.
And it's going to be tough, but if I can make it, then it's really something I want to do, man.
Yeah, it's a hard degree, but it's a good one, and just take the same game face you put on for MLG and you'll be fine.
Yeah, right. Maybe if I if I study and focus for 10 to 12 hours a day, I'll make it.
Easy. Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's exciting too. There's something exciting about the door was there, you went for the door got closed. And now it's like, all right, but there's all these open doors. Like who knows where you might end up? Like you could be anywhere. And I think that's taking and focusing on, like for me, I could focus on being like, I lost a year. I didn't do very much. I feel like I could have, I don't know. I didn't make as much money as I wanted. Like I can focus on that year, but also be like, I mean, now I'm in Seattle. I might move somewhere else at some point, who knows? And, kind of got a lot of my life ahead of me, and it's, let's focus on the adventure and not the past journey,
well said, man.
Yeah. So, I have a couple things that I have written down here that I just wanted to ask you. We have an Instagram, which listener, you can follow us at WAITSB podcast, but we put out a Q&A on the Instagram, and people just sent in random questions. And before we get into them, I wanted to see if there's anything else you'd like to try and touch on before we just jump into some funny questions that people asked me to ask you.
Back to the advice thing for anyone hoping to go for this. You're really gonna end up. There are gonna be some really highs and some really low lows, but I think overall, take a little page out of inspiration I get is from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he just says, "Don't let any." I think something along the lines of, "Don't let anyone ever tell you can't do something." And I really believe that. If I'm just a kid who played video games for fun in high school, and I pretty much almost made it, kind of to the top, then you can too. And so yeah, don't be discouraged, and I don't know what your family situation or whatever that support looks like, but different people are going to face different challenges. But I'll tell you that some of the best players in that game were kids from inner city Bronx, and they had, maybe they had a mom who worked 2 jobs, and maybe they played video games in their spare time. But some of these guys came up out of nothing, so nobody can be held back. Anyone can accomplish it if they want to, if they really go hard enough for it, I think. Or at least get pretty close, and kind of like my case, you at least get pretty darn close to what you were going for.
Yeah, and a lot of things to brag about, and that you got to do something a lot of people never get to do, and I think that's pretty awesome. So, cool. Okay, the first question was, has your eyesight been affected from so much time playing video games?
It's I don't think it has, but it's hard to tell.
I can't read the prescription.
No, it's hard to tell whether my eyesight was always pretty good and it's not as good as it used to be, and I don't know if that's from natural aging, but I would say certainly that has been increased like through how much time I've spent looking at a screen. But another thing is that I'm also one of those people that when like my eyes hurt, I'll kind of like close my eyes and like put my hands on my face and like look away and like, you know, so you kind of do want to, you want to be aware of something like that. And I have no medical background on that at all. So coming from someone who always had pretty good eyesight, and my eyesight is like still fine, but it's not incredible anymore, then I would say, I can't answer it. Look into that question, you know,
feel free feel free to have fun with these because some of them are kind of stupid. Just warning you.
Ask the medical community what they think about that. But whatever the doctor says is probably true, man. It's probably not been good for. Probably not been good.
If your eyes start bleeding, problem. Get away from the screen.
Because they'll get dried out, man. And don't sit too close. Like I know you're gonna people. You know, I sit pretty close to my monitor, but yeah. Give yourself. I wish I'd done something like that. Give yourself a break every once in a while, man.
Yeah.
You know? Hour after hour in a chair is too long.
Yeah. So next question.
Cool.
Did you or do you ever play online, and are most of the players weird, and were they weird in real life?
Did I ever play online and what?
I guess that some of these I know the answer to, and I think you sort of answered. But
did I play online? For sure, that's where I got my beginning from. Are the people weird in person? Yes. Some people are cool. Some people are, you know, they've just had little to no social interaction in their life. I don't know what their background is. I don't know where they're from. I don't know whether, you know, they have little, you know, certain things going on. But if you look at like Smash Brothers, like the like Mewtwo King is like obviously someone who like had a lot of success there, being like someone he was like obviously someone who was like not very social, and like probably that was one of the reasons why he was so good at the game, is because
he had nothing else to do.
Dude, yeah. And you'll go to these tournaments and you'll see people that are pretty weird, man. But the thing is, some of the best players in the Gears of War, like Team Optic, like those are all like really chill kids. Like this guy Mental, his name's Billy. Like he'd probably be one of the popular kids at school. Like, you know, so there's really no for sure final answer. Like there's just a gauge of like our gamers, like some of like the uber nerds of like the community, like yeah. And like are some of the best of those uber nerds like uber nerdy, like for sure.
This person wanted to know when you started, or like when you were about to start, what was it that made you realize that I want to do this as a profession?
I don't think I ever kind of realized that I wanted to do it. I just kind of like went with it. Like it was so fun at first, right? It was like I didn't think about like I wanted to, like I didn't think about like why I was doing it. I was just like, I can't wait to just like go to the next event. I can't wait to like keep playing. And I think it was just because, I guess some of the background on that is I played sports in high school, so I was always kind of competitive. So this kind of satisfied that urge of like being really competitive, and just like like crushing your opponent into the ground is like like some of the most satisfying experience you'll have like professionally gaming. I think, at least for my personality, was like absolutely like annihilating somebody. Like is like very, very rewarding.
Smashing them. Yeah. No, I think that one of the other things to note too is you took a chance and you went to an event. You know, you didn't know what you were doing, but you were like, let's just try it. And then taking that first chance just kind of got that ball rolling. And so take a chance and do something like that. I really encourage people to invest time and money into their hobbies, because you never know what might happen.
Guys and girls, go for it, really. You're gonna have a lot of fun.
So this person says, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
One horse-sized duck, man.
Why?
I would say, because it's at least only one thing I have to worry about. You know, I can see my opponent the whole time. You know, 100 of those things coming at me.
This is the video game coming out, and you're like, well, if I'm surrounded.
Yeah, if I'm surrounded, I'm toast. But if
it's like I might have the rocket launcher, but if I'm surrounded with 1 million people with pistols. You know?
One-on-one. Give me a one-on-one any day, man. I'll figure out a way.
Okay, so this is the final question. Would you do this again?
Ooh. Oh, man. I would say if everything I'm going for now that now that I'm no longer I'm trying to be a pro, like now that I'm going like back in school, like I'm heading for that. If that avenue works out, then I would say this was fine. You know, this experience was a part of my life, and it was really cool, and I had a lot of fun. But if I'm unsuccessful now, and it's like another year, like more and more years go by, and I haven't quite accomplished like a whole lot, like individually as compared to like some of my friends who've graduated and, you know, whatever they're all doing, then I would say I wish I could go back and maybe do a little bit less time. Maybe not so many years into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe put a year or two and kind of like, oh man, this isn't working out. Let me go back to something else.
Do you think you would have been afraid that if that was what you had done, that you would have felt even more of, oh, what if I had actually given it my all? I took a break. I didn't actually try, and make the regret even worse?
Man, I think, yeah, like I would certainly like look back at it as like, did I leave something on the table there and never accomplish like what I was like potentially could have?
You would have been wondering. You would have been like, could I have been a professional gamer?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
yeah.
didn't try.
Yeah, certainly. But there was always like that idea. Like I knew, like I felt like I was good enough to be like get there, you know?
Right.
So I was like, I knew it was just like, I knew it was probably going to be a matter of time. And at first I thought it was going to be Halo, but after that turned out to be Gears of War.
Mm-hmm.
The question that applies to now is better than it would have to me 6 years ago, right? So like the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
now to go into professional gaming and to go into esports is bigger than it ever has been, and it's taken more seriously. There's like I just got an email recently. There's like a high school athletic esport league that's starting up. They're like schools
Wow.
in like Colorado and California are like, it's like becoming, you know, it's going to be like more than just like the video game club at school. It's going to be actually like a thing. You know how like in like
It's
European
like a chess
countries,
club.
yeah, well more than that. Like in European countries, there's like schools that have like ski teams, right? Like they take skiing very seriously. Like it's like a sport kind of thing.
Wow.
I think like it's like we're on the road to that being a thing, and so people that are like going into it now, you know, the older generation, they kind of sucked it up and paved the way for you guys. So you guys have it better than ever, you know. Twitch is huge, like Twitch is huge, like the Overwatch League exists, like it's no longer like think about when I was in high school, how like it was pretty not cool to be like labeled or considered like someone who like likes video games, you know, like you're just kind of like a social outcast, right? And like that was okay because like you get into that underground group and then you make a bunch of friends through that. But now I think if you talk to kids now, like no one has a problem with like Fortnite or like playing Fortnite on your like Saturday or anything like that, you know, like there's so much more acceptance now and like on it. And like you've got like I just saw an interview, there's a big time baseball player, I think he plays for the Braves, I don't remember who it was. I just saw this on ESPN. It was really quick, but he's a professional baseball player, and they had this whole interview segment with him where he was talking about how much he loves playing Fortnite, and like the Sports Center guy was like gonna get his like tag, and they were gonna play Fortnite together. So like it's way more accepted than it ever has been, and it's way more considered like an actual thing than it ever has been. So it's best now. It's better than it ever has been to kind of go for it, but also, I don't know, man. There's more competition now. There's a lot more.
It's like YouTube. Like YouTube's like impossible now because there's just so many people trying to do it.
I hear you on that. There's a lot more people that play now that are like really good, you know, and really trying to make it to the top. So two sides to it for sure.
Okay, Rich, we're going to wrap this episode up.
Sure.
Like I said at the end, we usually do plugs. Like if you have a Twitter or Instagram, I don't know if you have anything you want people to go follow or... some people play music and then they say, oh, I'm in a band, I'm going to play this show. But do you have anything like that?
I don't have any... You know what? I kind of retired from all that Twitter. I took my header down that had like me with my jersey on and stuff. I like unfollowed people. I kind of like came away from that community a little bit. You guys can add me on Steam. I'm always like, I play Dota and Counter-Strike and PUBG nowadays. I'm always down to play games with anybody. Let's see. how I would go about that, you can look me up on Steam. Let me see what my Steam community is. Always send me a message. Play. I'll be playing some Gears of War 5 when that comes out.
That's right. You guys can play this guy in Gears of War 5. Hey.
Be down to play some Gears of War 5 with anybody when that comes out. Let me see what my Steam name is.
I'll also put it in the description of the episode.
Sure. Cool. It's Steam community ID is RMM2049. It's just like my name, Rich Musick 2049. So it's RMM2049 is my steamcommunity.com/ID/RMM2049. And my name in Steam is Annihilus, which is ANNIHILUS. And it says from Richmond, Virginia. So that's how you know it's me. It's like a blue profile picture. A lot of hours on Dota and Counter-Strike and PUBG.
It's like, if you find hours on Gears of War.
What is my? You guys are welcome to add me on Xbox too. What is my Xbox? Let me see. I can't remember what my gamer tag was now. Let me see. Pull it up right now. Because I think I changed it right towards the end there.
Just let me know if you can't find it, and I'll just put it in the description.
I want to say it's VQ Pistol. I don't think I ever changed it. So VQ space Pistol, I believe.
If it isn't, if someone else got that handle, it's like, sorry.
Right. The current player for Vanquish has that handle now. Then who knows?
That's right. Okay, Rich, I really appreciate this. Very interesting stuff. I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy this episode. So thanks for reaching out to me. Everybody,
I highly enjoyed my time here as well. Thank you.
Indeed. Very awesome. Everybody who listened, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at Luke Roxwold. That's LukeRockswold. You can follow our podcast, Instagram, once again, WAITSB Podcast. That's where people sent in questions for me to ask my guests. You can always message us on there. We'd love to hear from you because we are looking for ways to make this podcast more engaging with you guys. So if you want to engage with us, if you want to ask questions, if you want to participate in the polls, Instagram, that's where you're going to do it. WAITSB Podcast. Rich, thanks so much. We do this thing at the very end where I count down, and then together you and I are going to say outro music, okay? And then that's the way of the episode. Yeah, it's just, okay. Music's playing. Sure. So,
right on.
All right, so I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and we'll say it together, okay? 3, 2, 1, outro music. Boom. All right, we're done.